So I just finished watching this movie, Turning Red. And you know what's crazy to me? I am not a 13-year-old Asian girl from Toronto, and yet I still thoroughly enjoyed this movie. If you don't know what I'm talking about, context will be coming later. Welcome to my safe game, thank you guys so much for clicking on this video and joining me for a review for Turning Red, the newest Disney Pixar movie here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time clicking on one of my videos, hey, how's it going? My name is Michael. I am the Black Gay Comic Geek. I always say the things I love to talk about in my fantasy has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. Obviously, this is a Pixar movie. There is no blood, sex, gore. There's magic, so variation of the four. So yeah, I like to talk about superheroes. I like to talk about comic books. I like to talk about animation movies. I like to talk about action movies, sci-fi, fantasy, and I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you enjoyed this video, if you could do me a favor, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, become one of my safe Gaveneers, which is what I call the people that watch my channel, my safe Gaveneers, because this is my safe Gaveneer. If you're coming in the channel, you become part of my safe Gaveneer. But regardless, whether you are brand new to the channel, if you're a regular on the channel, if you could do me a favor, hit the like button. It'll really help with the YouTube algorithm and getting my video and the channel out there. So yeah, like I mentioned, we're here to talk about Turning Red. It is currently on Disney Plus. Don't worry, you don't have to pay a premium. If you're already paying for Disney Plus, you can watch it for free. This is going to be a non-spoiler review, even though there's a lot that I could dive into with regards to this movie, but this is non-spoiler. The movie just came out yesterday. But anyway, let's talk about it. Turning Red tells the story of Mei Lee, who is a 13-year-old girl who is torn between being her mother's obedient daughter and the chaos of her youth. As if that weren't enough, when she gets too excited, she turns into a big red panda. And obviously, this goes without saying, this is a Pixar movie, and for the most part, and while I haven't seen every single Pixar movie, like I haven't seen any of the Cars movies, and I haven't seen Up, which is funny because I have Up on Blu-ray and I just never watched it yet. That's a theme for me. If I go through all the Blu-rays that I have on my shelf and I'm like, haven't seen this, it'll be damn near the whole collection. But that's another conversation. But yeah, I haven't seen all the Pixar movies, but I've seen most of them. And like I said, it goes without saying that Pixar is one of the major studios that just hits it out of the park with every single movie that they do. And Turning Red is no exception to that. This movie was incredible. This movie was heartfelt. This movie was fun. This movie had so many layers and the characters were enjoyable. Like, I loved the crap out of this movie. Like, I would probably say, I gotta think about it, but this might go into my top 5 favorite Pixar movies. I gotta really think about it because I'm like, the first 4 Toy Story movies are like in my top 4 of Pixar movies. So I'm like, so would Turning Red be number 5? But then I'm like, but I love The Incredibles, the first Incredibles. So it's something I gotta think about, but it's definitely, I would say, maybe in my top 10 of Pixar movies, even higher than that, maybe like my top 7 of Pixar movies. And the thing that I love about this movie from a behind the scenes perspective is, for the most part, the entire concept of this movie, the people that are at the top of the creative process for this movie, they're all women, and a lot of them are Asian women. And so you get a level of representation and aesthetic that really shows in the animation, in the characters. Like, it feels very authentic. And also, like, and I watched a documentary after I watched the movie. It's called Embrace the Panda, and it talks about the women that created this movie. And they said that growing up, because this movie takes place in like the early 2000s, which you could definitely tell with the characters, there's a very heavy emphasis on like boy band nostalgia in this movie. And they also talked about the director and the production design and everything, how they were heavily inspired by anime, because that's something that they grew up, you know, and which a lot of people did, grew up watching anime. So you could definitely tell that with a lot of the animation style, certain moments where like the eyes get all googly eyes and the animation style changes. It's very anime-esque. And as a person that enjoys anime, I love that in the animation style. But not even just behind the camera, also playing and inhabiting these roles. You had a lot of Asian actors playing these characters. And it's sad that I even have to say that that Asian actors played Asian characters, but like you think of something like A Prince of Egypt, which took place in Egypt, and like there weren't Egyptian or African or Arab voice actors. It was all white people voicing those roles. But like you have newcomer Rosalie Chiang, who was the voice of the lead, Mei Mei, Sandra Oh, the legendary Sandra Oh, who played her mother. You had Hua Ching Ho, who played her grandmother, Wu Li, and most people will know her as Madame Gao from Daredevil, Iron Fist. Was she in Luke Cage? But yeah, she was Madame Gao in the Defender series. And a whole bunch of other characters voiced by Asian actors. And then the score. The person that did the score for this movie was Ludwig Göransson, who most people know as the person that did the score for Black Panther. So you know the music and the score for this movie was going to be fire. Like, and I'm still singing one of the main songs in my head that's in this movie that's at the I'm never not by your side. Oh my, oh my. Like, it's like all that boy band nostalgia. Because I was a huge, and I'm pretty sure most of us are, like I was a huge NSYNC fan growing up. And honestly, Justin Timberlake was one of my earliest celebrity crushes. So just the boy band aesthetic that was in this movie, I was here for it. Now getting into the story for this movie, like I mentioned, there is so much that I could dive into regarding this movie because honestly, and I haven't seen a whole lot of reviews, but most of the reviews that I've seen, a lot of people say that the fact that May is turning 13 and the whole issue of the movie, anytime she gets too emotional, anytime she gets too excited, she turns into this big red panda, and the title of the movie is called Turning Red. So a lot of people have been saying that this movie is a puberty allegory. As a little girl is coming into her womanhood, she's literally turning into a red panda, and you think about getting your period, there's some red flow. I'm trying to be a little bit PG in here. I mean, it is a PG movie being that it's Pixar, but like people say that it is a puberty allegory and getting your period more or less put through a Pixar fantasy lens. And while that is true, and if you just take it for that, it's still enjoyable, but I'm like, there's so many other layers with regards to this movie. Like I said, and I can't really talk about it because it's a non-spoiler review, but going into what I said in the intro of this video, where I was just like, isn't it crazy that I'm not a 13-year-old Asian girl from Toronto, but I still really enjoyed this movie? Let me talk about that a little bit more. So for those of you that do not know, there's a movie reviewer who is a white man, more than likely a straight white man, named Sean O'Connell, and he is a writer for Cinema Blend. The review has since been taken down because the creators and cast members of Turning Red have since criticized him, but there's an entire article about it on Variety. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna pin the article here so you can see the title of the article so you can look it up yourself. I'm not gonna go fully into it. I talked more about it on my TikTok channel, and I took that video and put it on my Instagram, so you can go check that out to learn more. But I'm gonna briefly talk about it here. But basically, he said that he thought that this movie was very limiting in its scope because it took place in an Asian community in Toronto. And his exact quote was, "That's fine, but it's a tad limiting." What? And then it gets worse. He goes on to further say that he didn't see himself in this movie, so he couldn't enjoy it as much, and it was exhausting. Like I said, I'm not gonna go fully into this because I made a video about this on TikTok already, but I'm like, how many movies do Black, Indigenous, people of color have to endure where we literally don't see ourselves, and yet we still are able to find some level of connection and enjoyment? Or how many movies are there where there are no queer leads, everything is heterosexual, but yet I'm still able to enjoy the romance and plot of the movie? Like, it was the most caucasity of caucasity that I have ever read in my entire life. Like I said, check out my TikTok and Instagram channel for more. So that's basically what I was talking about in the intro of that. Like, that review was peak whiteness, and it was hella trash. Hopefully he doesn't have a job after, because how are you a movie reviewer and you're saying because I didn't see myself, because it wasn't white based? That's basically what he was saying, that he couldn't enjoy it, and it was literally, he said it was exhausting. But this movie was far from you know what? I'm gonna have to do a spoiler review, because like I said, there's so much that I want to talk about that I feel like I can't really dive into in a non-spoiler review, because this movie was way more than just a puberty narrative. Like, yeah, but either way, I thought this movie was incredible. I thought the animation was incredible. I absolutely loved this movie. I can't say more about it. And let me just inject this really quick. as I was editing the video about the review from Sean O'Connell. It's not even just Sean O'Connell that's the problem. This review had to go through an editor. Whoever is the editor at Cinema Blend or whatever, how many editors, it had to go through other eyes before it was posted. And the fact that it made it through the censors or whoever his boss is, and they looked at that review and was like, oh, this is perfectly okay to post online. That is the problem, more so than having this white guy write a pretty racist review. It's the fact that it went through other eyes and they were like, oh, this is cute, or this is fine. And then it's only after they got backlash that the editor was like, oh, we're so sorry that this didn't, or that this passed the editing process. I'm apologize. It's not going to happen again. Yes, how many people behind the scenes are you going to hire that are people of color, queer, etc., so that something like this doesn't happen again? But also with that, there's been a lot of controversy going on with Disney this last week. So you had that review on one hand, but then, and it all ties into this movie, where you also had Disney supporting the Florida senators that were co-sponsoring the Don't Say Gay bill that's going on in Florida. Again, if you don't know about that, I talked about that on TikTok as well. But then on top of that, because of all of that happening with Disney supporting the Florida co-sponsors behind the Don't Say Gay bill, the cast and crew of Turning Red and also Pixar have come out to criticize Disney for censoring their queer relationships that they tried to put in a lot of their Pixar movies. And basically the people in Pixar were just saying every time they tried to inject a queer character, a queer main character in one of their Pixar movies, the Disney execs would come in and basically tell them they can't do that. And I'm wondering, they didn't specifically say, I mean, I don't know if they specifically said it was for Turning Red. They just said Pixar in general. But part of me is like, I can actually see that if Turning Red was one of those movies, because there's some kind of maybe hints where you could tell that maybe they wanted to make May queer and maybe have a crush on one of her best friends. I think her name is Miriam. I'm like, there could be some queer instances in, but obviously Disney said absolutely not. You had to take it away. And more than likely, the thought process behind that is because, oh, Pixar's for kids. We can't have queer relationships or talk about sexuality in a kid's property as if there aren't queer kids. I mean, think about what happened with Luca. Like, I'm not going to go into that tirade, but yeah, there's been a whole lot of controversy regarding Disney and everything that's happening this week around this movie, and I just felt remiss if I didn't at least bring it up on my YouTube channel. Like I said, I talked more about it on TikTok and more about it on Instagram, but I at least felt like I had to bring it up. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this movie without going into spoilers, except to say I loved it. It was incredible. I'm definitely watching it again, and I feel like if you haven't seen it, you just should definitely watch it too. And if you're not an Asian girl from Toronto, I'm pretty sure you will end up loving it as well. I guess maybe unless you're a straight white man, maybe, named Sean O'Connell, apparently for some reason. But for me, I am going to say, if you could not tell, Turning Red, the newest Disney Pixar movie, is a full-on straight-up blockbuster. But the question is, did you guys already see Turning Red? Maybe you think differently about it. Maybe you didn't like it as much. Maybe you loved it even more. I don't know, because I said it's a blockbuster. What's more than a blockbuster? I don't know. But anyway, let me know all of your thoughts regarding Turning Red in the comment section below. Also, once again, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out with the channel and the YouTube algorithm. And this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.